feel like there's a song in that.
1, 2, 5. Anyway, hey guys, welcome to a new video. This isn't really a J1D, this is kind of more of a general sort of tip video.
Yeah.
Sorry if I sound croaky and sick, it's because I'm croaky and sick.
And it's the middle of winter here.
Yeah, it's clearly the middle of winter.
And 40 degrees.
Yeah, it's 40 degrees, and I have a chest infection, so that's fantastic.
It's definitely contagious.
He has AIDS now.
I didn't think you got it twice.
It's super.
Oh, right.
Yeah, anyway. So today's video is about equipment, and by equipment we mean knee sleeves, knee wraps, belt, wrist wraps. We're not talking about squat suits and deadlift suits and stuff.
This is raw powerlifting.
Or as I like to call it, successful powerlifting. That's going to get some hate. Angry people who can't lift without 3-ply bullshit. Anyway, so this is kind of coming back to like people chucking on equipment too early or just chucking in way too late, and any type of equipment, like you want to throw it in there at a time where it's going to give you the most benefit to that top sets, max lifting competition. So a lot of this is going to be personal preference, but we do have some guidelines that we kind of recommend that people kind of follow when it comes to the people that we coach and what we think is a good way to apply.
Especially if you're new to the whole using equipment as well.
Oh,
if you've never jumped in rats before, never had a belt,
yeah.
And new to powerlifting in general, would be this is a good guide to when to utilise the equipment in your warm-ups and training.
Yeah, and if you should be utilising it, and that's another thing as well. Like there's certain, like if you're lifting in certain feds, like it's just not going to make sense to do some of the things that people in other feds are going to be doing. Like if you're an IPF lifter, you should not be like, oh, maybe I should do like a training block in wraps. Do not do a training block in wraps, it makes no fucking sense. But anyway, getting into the first lift, getting into the squat, what's your point of view when it comes to equipment and squat?
So if you're a wrapped squatter, obviously you don't want to wrap them too early. You're not going to wrap from your first warm-up set. Personally, my first warm-up set is bare knee.
Yeah.
Just to feel the weight. You know, you haven't done anything. You want to get as much out of nothing as possible. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
As you warm me up through your first few warm-up sets, chuck your sleeves on. Get a bit of warmth in the knee. Get moving. Give a bit more buffer. Give a bit of support. Yeah, that's good. And then as you get to your second last warm-up, maybe get a light wrap on, and then a good heavy wrap for your last warm-up, and then your normal competition wrap or something close to it for your top sets.
Yeah.
That's how I like to use wraps leading into my squat.
Yeah.
With a belt, that's usually on very loose from like my first set, and I'm sure I've seen you do it yourself as well. Like it's not clipped or anything; it's just there so you can feel where it is on your belly. And then as you progress on, then you'll probably tighten it to like put it on probably towards your second or third last warm up, just to get a bit more feeling. Whilst you still got your knee sleeves on.
Yeah, like, and that's definitely something I do as well. Like when it comes to knee sleeves for myself, generally I'll do some reps with the bar bare knee, but generally my sleeves are going on either first plate on or second plate on, depending on how I'm feeling. There's definitely some benefit to be had for doing stuff without knee sleeves at all, but generally I leave that for accessory stuff. I'm not leaving it for my competition style squats.
You want to feel as strong as possible in your main sets as well.
Yeah.
So if you feel stronger with your knee sleeves on your first set, then do that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't advise wraps early.
Oh, hell no. That being said, like if you are someone who does really struggle with knee pain, I know guys like Donnie Thompson, who's a old, very, very successful equip lifter. He was putting on light knee wraps from like 140 kilos to like 300 pounds. He was putting knee wraps on. You're talking about a guy who had 1,000 pounds on his back in a suit. So there's obviously a lot to be said for that if you're just someone who's old and busted up. But that's a very extreme case.
Yeah. To the general population, to the new people.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Wouldn't advise unless you do have some sort of issues where it's going to help.
Yeah. When it comes to belt, like as Dylan said, like I'll throw the belt on just open from like 2 plates on, just to feel it there. Like you can't get anything out of it, but it's kind of just a physical cue. Generally, I want to have my belt done up probably from about 60% up, and that's just a personal thing. I have historically probably abused use of my belt, and I'd be locking it on from like 120 kilos on my back, which just didn't make sense. And that's a hole you can fall into, and that's part of the reason why we're having this discussion now, is because we fucked up fast.
Yeah, because doing that can make the weight feel really light and give you a good sense of the weight feeling light on your back, and then you add more plates and like, this feels like fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just put it on the next one, it would feel better.
And like, although throwing on a belt does actually increase core activation, it doesn't decrease it, it increases it. It does decrease external oblique activation, so it actively reduces external oblique. So if you do overuse it, you will end up having weaker external obliques, and that's not good if you're trying to be strong. When it comes to knee wraps, as Dylan said, probably like at least from second last warm up, I'll have them on, if not third last, and that's going to be depending on obviously like how heavy I'm going, and it'll be like a light wrap, heavier wrap, competition wrap, then working sets. I feel like people get in wraps too late, and you want to be going into your working sets knowing exactly how you feel in those wraps that day. Like, you don't want to be going in there second guessing, oh, how does this feel? I'm probably saying that's underspoken about when it comes to the squat and equipment is actually wrist wraps.
Yeah. Especially in low bar.
Yeah, especially low
High
bar.
bar you can get away without wrist wraps, but low bar definitely 100% recommend using wrist wraps.
Yeah.
Whether you're a wide grip or very close,
Yeah.
chuck them on, they'll definitely help massively.
Yeah, and honestly, I'll have them on loose, even from just one plate, because with wrist wraps in low bar squatting, increasing the weight is going to put a bit more tension on them, but ultimately it's the position you're in that's creating the tension, and you want to be trying to hit the same position from the bar. So if you are like that tension and that crank on your wrist is going to be there pretty early, and that can create elbow issues long term. So just get them on light, even from really early. By the time you start feeling like, oh, they're feeling a bit uncomfortable, you've already done some damage. You don't want to be getting to the point where you're like, oh, this is feeling uncomfortable. Because then it's, you're mitigating a problem that already exists, as opposed to just avoiding it entirely. So I think that's pretty much the squat.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving on to bench. What's your point of view with equipment and bench? Because I know that we've got kind of differing opinions to a lot of people out there when it comes to, like, especially if you're using belt while benching.
Yeah, I personally prefer to use a belt during bench, especially I try to arch, and that helps just create a lot more tension through the legs all the way up through to the upper body. Having that brace, it's similar to the squat and deadlift. You want that tightness, and even though you're laying down and not using your legs as much, it still helps have that transfer of energy, keeps everything tight. When I bench with a belt, I can have it up a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because usually I have it down quite low, because I'm going to hinge from my stomach when I squat and deadlift. But when I'm benching, I'm not. I want up here where I breathe into the most, and that's what it is. I don't have to breathe in as hard, and I still get just as much tension out of it.
Yeah.
I'll put the belt on as it gets heavier, because where I get a little bit wobbly, where the stability is more required. I'll put the belt on then. For wrist wraps, I put them on quite early from 2 plates.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying about 2 plates I got wrist wraps on. Honestly, especially because I'm just lazy and I'll kind of have them on from the go. Like, so I'll just throw them on light, just sitting on my wrist. They'll pretty much stay there the whole training session. And I'll just crank them up tighter or loosen them off, depending on if I'm benching or not. But even then, it's just because that's the feeling I have when I'm benching heavy, just having it there and having the same feel to the movement on my body from go, even if it's just a bar or a plate, it helps me just feel and find my groove faster. When it comes to the belt, I've generally got that on from about 2 plates as well, even though I have a very different bench style to Bill. I bench relatively flat, I bench flat-footed, and it's very much a very leg drive heavy bench, especially initially off chest, and that's a large reason why I want that belt tension, is because it helps me just lock down that lower part of my torso, so that when I do create leg drive, it's not being lost through any sort of increase in kind of arch, and it's being transferred well up to where the bar is on my chest to create that pop to drive through the bench.
Helps get everything rigid as well. Like in a squat deadlift, you want everything rigid. You don't want your hips doing that. You don't want to be doing that in the way you bench as well.
Absolutely.
So it helps keep that tension all the way through.
Yeah. When it comes to, like, I do see sometimes people wearing knee sleeves in the bench, and I know this is kind of a weird thing to bring up, but honestly, I don't care how long you've been in the sport and how beat up you think your body is. If you are having to wear knee sleeves to bench, sort your fucking knees out. There is no way your body can be so beat up that you need to wear knee sleeves to bench.
Unless you have 100% leg drive to launch the fucking thing off your chest.
Yeah, like, and unless you are somehow crippled. Like, I don't, like, it's, I've never, like, I've seen it happen and people try and defend it, like, oh, like, I've been squatting for 20 years, my knees hurt when I bench. It's like, no, your knees hurt when you bench because you do zero fucking rehab. Like, and your knees suck because you just train like an idiot.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Moving on from that, the deadlift, which is probably the easiest one.
The most simple one as well. I mean,
like,
if you're wearing wrist straps in a deadlift, then you're... Some federations don't allow it, some do. I personally don't think it does a hell of a lot. I mean, when you put a wrist strap real tight, your hand does do this. But when you've got 700 pounds in your hands, your fucking wrist strap's not going to fucking care.
Yeah, like, it's going to be a minimal improvement, and honestly... Like,
it's more for a placebo type thing anyway.
Yeah, and honestly, just get stronger.
You look like a fucking
Make your
spud.
grip. Yeah, like... yeah, don't look like a spud.
You look like you have grip issues.
That's the tip for today. Yeah, no, don't look like a spud.
Hashtag potato.
Hashtag potato. When it comes to throwing on the belt, I think we're both of a pretty similar sort of opinion.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to rely on the belt, but at the same time, it's a competition deadlift.
Yeah.
Like, throw it on early enough that you can find your groove with the pull.
Yeah. Like, I put it on loose at 220.
Yeah.
And then I tied up at 270. And I'm a 900 pound puller.
Yeah, I put it on loose from like 170 kilos, and obviously I'm up around the low threes. So, like, we're throwing on at about 50%.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like 50-60%, kind of similar to what I was talking about with the squat, seems to be like that sort of sweet spot. One thing I will say though is if you're in competition and you have squatted and benched and you're going into the deadlift, I'm gonna be honest, just throw it on from go. Like, because you're at that point in competition,
You're already warmed up.
You're already warmed up. It's like you should be like pulling at most like 3 reps on any sort of weight in competition with warming up. And that might be the first set with the bar. Like, you're going to be so warm by that point. Throwing that belt on is just going to be about finding your groove and making sure your back is in the best state possible to pull heavy on the platform. And that's something I specify because it's a very, very different scenario. And I'll even kind of go back from this a bit to the squat and to the bench. If you feel like if you're on competition day, it's not the same as training. If you want to put your wraps on one set earlier because you're like, oh, something's feeling a little bit off, throw them on. Like, get yourself in that competition style movement on competition day a little bit early if you feel you need to.
You want your mindset to be best on comp day.
Yeah, like if you're uncomfortable because you're like, oh, I'm unsure about this, just get yourself into that competition groove early. Like, and this is something I've seen very, very advanced lifters do. Ernie Lubridge Jr. did it ages ago. I remember them even talking about it. Like, usually he'd be putting knee wraps on from like 260 kilos, and they talked about how they got him in at 220 because he was feeling like, oh, knees feeling a bit funny today. It's like, don't wait for it to feel bad. Like,
having said that though, if your prep has gone well and you've done your prep correctly,
Yeah.
The comp day should be like any other day.
yeah,
Realistically speaking, but shit happens. So
yeah. So in that shit happens scenario, don't be like, oh, I'm not allowed to put them on until fucking X weight. Just make the call, get yourself comfortable.
Best mind state as possible.
Yeah, and kind of going to equipment outside of the main lifts. This is going to get very, very subjective very, very quickly. But for like most of my heavy pressing, I'll have wrist straps on. I don't really see the point in not using them. It's not like you're gaining or losing a ton of stability and you're going to be losing strength because you're using wrist straps too early. So I just say throw them on, avoid the potential pain. When it comes to knee sleeves, like, I will avoid them more in my accessory movements compared to competition movement, just because I know I'm getting them on early for the competition movement, so I want a bit of a change in stimulus from the training movements. I'll never wear them for any sort of leg extension or curl.
Nah.
I'll never wear them for any sort of hip hinge.
Yeah.
Like I'll chuck knee sleeves on for leg press. I
But
will
even like-
never chuck on knee wraps for leg press. If you're throwing knee wraps on for leg press,
Get up on leg press.
fucking get over yourself. Like there's no point. Like,
Like
it's-
I'm a 1,000 pound squatter, and
Yeah.
I'll leg press 3 players.
yeah, like there's a leg press is such a mechanically advantaged movement already because you're pushing something along a diagonal plane. Like if you really feel you need a ton of overload from it,
You're not squatting enough.
you're not squatting enough. Like there's like I'd really actually struggle to find any argument to using knee wraps outside of the competition style squat. It's gonna be really hard to find another sort of scenario. And even then, like I'd never do it for high bar.
I use wraps on my safety bar, but that's a different story altogether.
Yeah, that was just because you could not squat low bar.
Yeah.
Like
It
if you are
is.
forced to substitute your competition style squat for another style of squat,
Yeah.
and you compete in wraps, I'd say that's probably the only time I'd use wraps in a non-competition specific squat.
But it wouldn't be leg press.
No, it would not be leg press. If you are so hurt that you have to substitute your competition style squat for leg
You
press,
should probably go home and see physio or something.
like you shouldn't be going, oh, I need to throw wraps on because I'm competing soon. You're not competing fucking anytime soon if you're having to revert that far.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not happening, so don't do it.
I think I've torn my quad, yeah, leg press.
Yeah, and do some leg press with wraps. That's gonna make that so
Just
much
wrap
better.
all the way up.
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, no worries.
5.5 meter wraps. It's FPF legal.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And this range of motion,
and that's fucking deep for SPF.
because they all saw that.
Yeah, they did. He bent his leg that far.
It's like this.
Yeah, there we go.
It's cramped in.
Yeah, when it comes to knee sleeves, those sorts of movements though, I'd say, yeah, use them sparingly, but don't hold back from them to the point where you're getting pain. Once you are getting pain, you've already created dysfunction, you're already creating a negative effect on your training because you're in pain. I'd say for any sort of heavy leg pressing, knee sleeves are on. If you have any sort of like history, probably in the last 3 to 6 months of knee pain, I'd probably say for most leg pressing you should have them on, just because leg press is going to put a lot of load through that knee joint.
I mean, I don't get knee pain from it, but I still use them anyway.
Yeah,
Just
well,
because.
because fuck, you don't want to get knee pain from
Yeah,
it.
exactly. That's that prehab too.
Yeah, like when it comes to most of your accessory sort of squat variations, I'd say you should probably be putting knee sleeves on at least towards the heavier working sets. Like personally, I've had issues with knee pain in the past, so for my high bar, my safety bar, front squats, all of them, like knee sleeves are on, leg press, knee sleeves are on. And you know what, I'm way better for it and my body's recovering. I'll definitely apply times where I do just like light leg press with no knee sleeves, or lighter leg press against bands to add some top end tension where the knee's in a safer sort of position. I'll do them bare knee, but for the most part, like it's a cool party trick to be able to do like heavier movements bare knee, but really it's
an ego thing.
it's a random asterisk next to a fucking lift that really doesn't matter all that much. Like, yes, I'll be impressed if I see like some like Rod Phillippe or something doing like a 400 kilo bare knee squat, but at the same time, if he goes and squats 400 kilos bare knee in competition, and somebody squats 402.5 with sleeves in competition,
He's lost.
guess who squatted more? Like, yeah, nobody cares in the end. Like,
Yeah.
you're still one down. So that's kind of, I think, our take when it comes to
Yeah.
equipment in training.
Yeah. Be smart that we're using it.
Yeah, be smart. If you're curious about straps, we've already got a video on straps. You can go back, watch that video on straps. It's a good video. I'd probably say about 90% of the video is us telling you not to use straps. So you can take that as you will. And yeah,
Unless you've got a brand new deadlift bar, like we just got, then sometimes it's okay to use straps.
yeah.
But
But
then
the
you
first
can't-
set, you didn't use straps.
No, no. Where it
Exactly.
matters.
So that's our advice when it comes to equipment in training. Please like, subscribe, ask us questions. We have a video coming up in the near future regarding squat stance and how to kind of assess and figure out where you can squat best. So stay tuned for that one, and we will see you guys soon. Enjoy.